All right, episode 100. Today, we're going to talk about how to drastically increase your real estate business by implementing this one strategy. We're going to get started right now.
Episode 100, confetti amazingness!
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
100.
100. Who would have?
Yes.
Who would have thought?
So here's the thing. I'm just going to twist this off.
As we crack our Stelvin enclosure,
Yeah.
if you're a former bartender,
Can I make it clear that we
Fancy word
didn't
for
buy
cheese
these
tops.
for this episode? They were already in the fridge. I would have gotten something nicer.
There's
We
a
just-
fridge off camera that's just consistently full of booze.
These are
And today we're down to 2 claws,
Here you
which
go,
Brian and
guys.
I are going to
100.
If you had told me 3 years ago we'd be drinking barefoot to celebrate this,
Yeah.
I would have opted out.
Not me. I'd still be here with
All
you,
right.
sexy bastard.
Look, episode 100. We've got a great show lined up today. And before we get started to that, today's show is brought to you by one of our favorite sponsors, right? Justin Nelson over at Sphere Rocket VA. Look, if you want to learn how to leverage out your business and you don't think you can afford a full-time employee in person, you're wrong. Well, not in person, but you can get a full-time virtual
You're still a
staff.
person,
I am.
so you'd still be in person.
I would be. Yes.
It hasn't in person. Hasn't the whole idea of that morphed since Zoom has just become like Kleenex? Like if we don't talk about tissues.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to video conference somebody, you're just Zooming them. You're Googling it. Give me a Kleenex.
Yes.
Like the brand has become the action, which
Yeah.
means it works.
It looks very yellow behind me
Does it?
as I'm looking.
We're sporting a new setup this week, and Nick is in a giant box of urine. I just saw his.
I saw
side.
yours looks good.
Yeah, well, that's just my face. It's very good.
Yeah, that's true.
We
That's
do.
true.
We look so much better. Why are you so
Sphere-
yellow?
I don't know. Sphere
Try
Rocket.
turning
I don't
that
know.
light off.
Yeah,
Is
Sphere
this,
Rocket.
is this on white light and that's on yellow light?
Yeah, it's on white. It's too yellow.
Yeah, so Sphere
As
Rocket.
always, bear
Well,
with us,
that
folks.
looks super. That's
There
what
we
you
go.
know. That's that cold,
Yeah.
ice cold.
SphereRocketVA.com, right? And go talk with Justin. Look at implementing leverage in your business with one of their virtual assistants. They provide the training. They help you hire. They help you go through the interview process. By the way, I went through and interviewed 4 virtual assistants yesterday that we are looking to bring on one special person to help us with leveraging out this podcast, this show, to get in front of more real estate agents and attract more people in. So go to SphereRocketVA.com and talk with Justin Nelson.
I just got actively put in Facebook jail as I was sharing
Oh, no.
the show out. Like I
You got to
literally
see
got
the
the
moment
alert.
in time.
It happened just like they were like, you can't share anymore.
Oh,
Yeah, 3 days. Hey guys,
That's weak.
I need you to share this out for me.
Please.
I can't share. This is not a bit. I've
you
never
wouldn't
asked you to
mind.
share this out. I'm normally the sharer of the show, which puts me in Facebook jail a lot. So everybody watching this, please share it for me because Facebook is kind of being a dick.
I share to so many groups just for
I do.
Like, I just
I know,
do it.
I know.
don't even care. Here's the thing. I don't mind being in Facebook jail because I live in the real world where I'm not actually in jail.
Yep, right there. Just now, you have been restricted from accessing some
Really?
Facebook's features.
So let's talk about real quick. So episode 100, right? We're going to talk about the one thing that you can implement into your business today that will help your business grow, right? But before really diving into that, what that one strategy is, we were talking off camera that there was a gentleman that was sharing with us about starting a podcast.
Mhm.
Right. This is technically not 100 episodes.
No, we might be in like
This has got to be 120 or so.
Yeah.
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 Right. We've got some really, really bad ones out there. We've had some. We have some ones that we did not include in this. Then we were doing it out of somebody's garage.
Yep.
When
Three or four of those.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
That's how this show got started.
Yeah.
Right. And so this person's advice was something about you don't really gain your footing. You don't really get momentum going until you're about 17 shows in.
Yep.
17 episodes.
And I think it's crazy now thinking about it. Like we're obviously way past 17, so we've had time to like mentally evaluate this multiple times as far as like, oh, we got to our 17 or whatever. But 100 on paper, just as we've been counting for whatever reason, right? Like, who cares? It's not like Friends episodes, right? But the reality is, like, 100 episodes, man, I'll be honest with you, just as a human being, I don't usually do 100 of anything. Right? Like, I don't do any one thing 100 times. So I'm just personally super proud to only miss like 2 or 3 of these.
It's a pretty cool bit, right? Like,
And-
can you imagine something you do 100 times? I can't think of a lot of things.
You know, and just if you think we're full of shit like consistently, we did 100 episodes. I bet you haven't.
Yeah. How long is your podcast been on?
Here's the thing. I will also say that, I mean, there's been some times that I'm like, where we're trying to find new content and new topics.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I still get excited every Wednesday to do the show.
This is the
Fuck
most
yeah.
consistent thing on my calendar.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
legitimately, the only like there are other things that don't move, but I don't have very many. Like our 9 a.m. power up with the team responsibility. This is the only thing that I could, because we're friends outside of this, right? That I
Wait,
could call you
Is
guys
it real friends?
Yeah,
Allies.
right? I don't know. I'm coming to hang out with you guys on Saturday, so hopefully like each other.
Dude, you should come Friday.
I should, and I might.
Hey, you
I
didn't
just
even respond to me.
know.
Can I get a ride?
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Sam's kid.
unless Winston's coming.
I just don't want to drive back drunk.
Well, I understand that Winston and Asher's coming.
Who
So
the fuck is Winston?
Winston's our dog.
Oh, the dog. Yeah, I like
So
Winston.
funny.
yeah. So the
about
seat's
that.
taken.
Yeah,
I didn't know I was being deprioritized for a canine, but
But again, this is the one thing. Like, I could call you guys every single week and be like, not every single week, but I could call you on occasional weeks and just be like, hey, I'm not going to be there today. I got a showing, right? Like, whatever. But this is the one thing that's voluntary on my schedule that I'm like, I'm going to that
every week.
every week.
So let's dive into this, right? So this is, by the way, you're gonna want to stay tuned into this, right? Because we're gonna talk about this one strategy.
Yeah,
We're
if
gonna
you
be-
think that was our best stuff,
yeah,
just wait.
yeah. I mean, we've got 100 more episodes to come, and a lot of great guests that will be coming on the show. But with what's going on in the real estate market, I read an article that, or maybe John Pugh or Poe or whatever that guy's
Is
name
it
is.
Yeah, I
He
think
used to be a KW guy, now an
Big
EXP
KW guy, EXP guy, yeah.
Yeah, EXP guy. Poe, I think so. And he made a comment about, look, there's more real estate agents than there are listings out there.
Yeah, it's a whole bit right
And
now.
right. And so from that though, where if you're bragging about selling your house over asking price and getting 30 offers, that ain't shit, right? It's how many deals can you actually get in?
Yep.
Right. And so, we need a strategy to focus on continuing to move our business forward.
Yeah.
And something that's my real estate coach, John Kitchens, had brought up to me in our coaching session. And this was an eye opener, so we can get rid of all the clutter, all the distractions that we go through on the day-to-day basis. And this one strategy is, what is the one thing in your control today that will move your business forward?
Man, do we tend to avoid that one thing though, right?
We do. But
This
it could be different for each person.
It's
right?
different for each person, but this would go. I said this at our live event yesterday. So we do live training events every other Thursday. We just talk to agents and stuff, and I said this is kind of the same sort of ideology. That it's like it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Like, man, is it really, really easy to identify that one thing that's going to move your business forward? But man, can it be hard to execute on it, emotionally, existentially, however you want to say it, right? Like, usually the thing we're avoiding is the most obvious thing we need to do to move our business forward. But man, do we want to do all the other little things to make ourselves feel better about how well our business is set up? When the reality is, I mean, Matt and I are great at being humble about this. Like, we only do the one thing. And man, did it make us like really, really have to bust through some walls on our way to success, because we didn't do any of the other shit and we didn't have a lot of stuff set up, and it really messed us up a while. But like, man, do we avoid that one thing a lot.
I think it's very interesting too. Can you flex on being humble? Like, Brian and I are so humble.
We just super did. You guys don't even know how much we don't even care about what we do.
I so don't care about
Like, honestly, do you know how much we give to charity?
I will say that won't be. Yeah, that
There's
won't
a
be
Family Guy upset.
That won't be the only thing I disagree with you on that statement, though, is because I think defining the one thing is actually insanely difficult. I will tell you, for years as a father, I thought my one thing should automatically default to being providing for my child, right?
Okay,
because
yeah.
saying anything
Sure.
else socially would make me look like a dick.
Sure.
the reality is the providing for the child is a built-in inherent thing that I'm going to do as a parent that stems from caveman times, right? So like making sure my child is taken care of wasn't enough motivation for me to get away from the internally selfish person that I am, that doesn't always want to work hard. Right, like
because the bar is relatively low. It's just like kids don't know what providing for them is. Keep them alive, give them food, give them a great upbringing. Like so you can,
and you're going to, and as a parent, you just are going to do it anyway. Right, like it's inherent. It's just you're just so like that wasn't for a long time. That was really difficult for me. So like when I hear people say like it's easy to define the one thing in your business, I understand that's different than understanding the one thing that drives you. But I do think that actionable item they're going to move forward can be just as elusive if you are in the mental weeds of your business.
So let's go over that. So actionable and controllable.
Yes.
Right. And so, and how this was explained to me, and then as I've implemented this about a month in my business, it's working. Like, look, the one thing that I'm focusing on every single day right now, right, is not sales related.
Yeah.
My one thing to drive the company and business forward is I hired a lead manager, Bella, right? And Bella's job is to help us hold.
That's a done deal now. You did. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I want to show you that. We'll talk about this weekend, dude. I'll tell you right now, it's huge. But what my thing is with her is when I'm coaching her and leading her is that, all right, what's the one thing that I can do that's in my control? Well, I can provide the best training to her so that she can then go and learn, execute, and implement so that our agents are now held accountable to a higher standard, right? There's better systems, better structures in place for them to win. And for your agents, so on our team calls that we do with our agents, you can't say, oh, well, I'm going to go get a listing. I'm going to go get a contract. Well, you can't control that. It's got to be something controllable. So what you can say is, I'm going to make $300 today. I'm going to make 100 dials with a combination of 100 text messages. But if you do that every single day, guess what? What will naturally happen?
Ultimately, your pipeline's going to get full. That database will be nurtured. Deals are going to pop out of it.
Right. So it has to be that. It's got to be, we may have done this on a show previously, but if you're a new listener, by the way, go leave us a review on iTunes, 5 stars only. So go to iTunes, the only real estate podcast worth listening to, and join our Facebook group where we'll be carrying this into this group and talking more about this at the only real estate group worth being a part of. But it's basically what's called leading and lagging indicators, right? And understanding what that is. So leading indicators is a predictable goal achievement. You can influence them, but can be more difficult to measure, right? A lagging indicator is a measurable goal of accomplishment, easy to measure but hard to influence. So again, it's easy to measure in the sense of like a lagging indicator, like I have 10 contracts.
This already happened, right? Exactly, right.
Well,
I've already done this activity. This has already happened,
right? But before that, the hard thing to measure is it's going to take how many contacts is it actually going to take
to
me
set this many appointments
to get to 10 contracts on a monthly basis, right? And so when people hear that, they're like, man, I don't really want to have to do all that hard work. Okay, then let's scrap all that shit.
Yep.
What's the one thing in your control today that's going to move your company, your business forward? And then you ask your staff that, your operations team, right? That's not sales for them. It could be implementing a better touch campaign to your past clients, your 33 touch.
Here's the thing is it's not always like going out and putting out contracts. It's not always dumping money and opportunity into I was trying to screw that back. Figure that out. There you go. Because they think somehow they're whispering, like the mic's on fucking picking them up. I can hear every word they're saying. Yeah. I'm like, either use hand signals or figure it out. So
soon enough, this is going to be like SNL.
The difficulty in the leading, so I'll just speak from an agent standpoint, because I think sometimes on the show we tend to slide in this space where we talk a lot about things that we're doing as a team. And I think as an individual agent, sometimes you run into this very real problem of just understanding the question you're trying to answer. And I never want to ignore that as we're kind of like blazing into leading and lagging indicators. If you as a real estate agent, whether you're you're leading a team and trying to grow a team, and develop some kind of culture, or you're an individual agent who thinks you want to grow a team, or you're an agent who has no desire to grow a team, you want to continue to sell real estate at a higher level, right? All of those things. There's like one inherent thing that I was never able to figure out, that I was fortunate enough through coaching and then ultimately just being around Brian all the time, who's very goal oriented and writes down his big rocks every day and checks things on boxes, like has a piece of paper in front of him every day. I didn't really understand what I was trying to measure. And in order to even have a bit of sense around the conversation that we're having, you as a agent, as a business owner, have to really, really be able to ask yourself, A, what you're trying to accomplish, and B, Brian said this at our thing yesterday, what's next, right? Like I never asked myself that question. And we had lunch with somebody today who, I think we run into this a lot when we're individual agents. We have huge ideas. We say really sexy things like, I just need to go find out what other people are doing and I need to make it better, right? I need to go out and I just need to be myself. Like, if we're being honest, those are just words, right? Those are just phrases around things that we can't put any action to. You really need to understand, like, what does it mean to take Russell Rhodes' business and build upon it, right? Like, that's probably not something you're doing when you've done $5 million a year.
No, I agree with you 100%. You're totally right. And are you not the worst person to tell you what the most important thing is? Because if you knew that, you wouldn't have that conversation. So Nick could probably provide some insight because he's been in the leadership department longer than we have. At a certain level of production, say you're doing 2 million right now, or you're doing 10 million right now, or you're doing 50 million, or whatever. Is there not a default one thing you should be doing every day, and then that manifests itself in whatever actionable items you can do, or is this shit all just?
I mean, I think it's
different for everybody.
Look, I think it grows, and I think it's different for everyone. So I don't think it's a one size fits all.
Okay.
Because look, let's take Elizabeth. Let's take Elizabeth Austin's business, for example. Right, her one thing is different today than it was 12 months ago, even 24 months ago.
Okay, but isn't the concept of your one thing being the one thing that drives your business forward, and that might manifest itself differently? Like, right? Maybe I create a lot of social media content, or maybe I pound the phones, or do whatever. Right? Aren't we all doing the same thing? Is that us trying to lead generate and move our businesses forward?
From a sales role, yes.
So then in that case, figuring out your one thing is, you already know your one thing is lead generation, and you might hate it at first if that's just smiling and dialing or working your sphere, whatever. So you might layer content creation on top of that. You might layer, let's start a YouTube channel. But until that takes off, you can't call your YouTube channel your one thing until it starts feeding your business.
Or you can call it your one thing, but here's the thing.
That's what we called this.
If it's not feeding your business, it can't be your one thing.
The name of this show should have just been The One Thing is Bullshit.
It's got to be, right? And that's also why I think we're the worst people to tell us what our one thing is. That's why Chris is sitting next to me now.
Yeah, so I disagree with you with that. Where if you're going to say that YouTube, let's say YouTube is your channel.
Got to get my mic way
right
today.
And you're sitting here and saying, well, I'm not getting any business from it.
Sure.
That would be the same as saying, well, making expires if you don't make money from expires in 90 days.
No. It doesn't mean stop. I'm not saying stop. I'm saying that is you only have an X amount of hours in the day. If you're going to spend 3 hours a day lead generating, and you think that your lead generation is YouTube, but YouTube's not paying the bills yet with business, then that's not your one thing yet. You need to go do the shitty stuff that you hate and do YouTube after that until it becomes your one thing. YouTube's not going to be your one thing from day one. It can't be.
But from day one, there's any lead generation source from day one is not going to generate.
Fucking expireds will.
Your
sphere will.
No, bullshit.
Day one real estate agent. Day one real estate is not killing you.
I understand what you're saying. I get your point. Look, I understand you. I understand. I'm just
saying there's always that next thing, but if you make that next thing your one thing too fast, it won't work.
But I understand the point that you're making on it, but that's where I disagree from it, because anything that you go down, there's a natural learning curve.
Of course.
Right? So anything from day 1 to day 30, you're going to sit there and question, is this truly the thing that I should be focusing on that's going to get me to my
I agree, and I think that's why, this actually goes back to last week, that coaching's so important. We're the worst people to answer our own question.
Well, and I even think Nick just threw that out as an example, but your one thing also, the time frame varies depending on what one thing you assign to be your one thing, right? Like, again, 0 to 30 days, I think, is a realistic expectation for you to understand expireds. I don't think it's a realistic expectation to get business from YouTube.
Fuck no.
Right? Like, so there's also a moving target on how long you need to be dedicated to your one thing, right? If you're mailing a new neighborhood, don't expect to get business from that in 30, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's controllable.
It is controllable.
It's differentiating between your one thing and your next thing.
Right. And so Shalina's like, maybe the one thing should just be lead gen. But that, again, that's broad, because how many times, because again, this will hammer your point a little bit as well. It's like, how many times have we
see how he low key admits that I'm right, but he does it through other people.
First off, I didn't say, I said,
I didn't hear him say you were
like, Selena said this, and you.
I also said that I understand the point you're making, but at the same time,
I'm Team Lautner this week.
That same point that you're hitting on, we would feel that way with any type of
no, you're right, 100%.
Right. So
again, I think that goes back to why coaching is so important to have other eyes on your business, because we're always going to be biased against our own bullshit.
Of course, right? You know, and there's people that have, like I've talked to agents that they've said they've made thousands of calls and not got anything from it. Now, take that with a grain of salt.
Impossible,
right?
No
I'm like,
they didn't.
I'm like, if you did,
or they're actively trying to avoid conversation.
Like, what are you saying on that call? Or you're like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, but you should not use me.
So is your refrigerator running?
Yeah. If you're making 1,000 calls and literally putting nobody in your database, I also think you're probably the person who's like, I work 80 hours a week, bro. I bet you don't do that either. Right? Like, I just don't think you can do that volume of dials and have nothing.
You're right.
Great.
All right, Selena, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. It's just I see it typed out. I don't know how to pronounce it. You're right. There are people that are killing it with YouTube as a number one source. I'm not saying that that's not possible. What I'm saying is that you've got to pay the bills until YouTube becomes your number one source. And you're in a highly competitive arena there. So your one thing can't be your next thing. Your next thing needs to happen after your one thing right now.
How many times can we say one thing?
I don't know.
You fucking started
it. It is one of those phrases. I get really super annoyed by two things in life. I get really annoyed by movies that have to explain the character's emotions through shitty dialogue.
Yes,
and I get super annoyed by catchphrases. And I will say, as a KW agent, I'll call this out all day long, the one thing bit is just such a deceptive phrase for what the thought process needs to be. It's not about finding the one thing. I don't think is really the huge challenge. I think understanding how to implement action to get you to the one thing is where people get most deceived, right? Because the way it's being sold, and not through the book or anything, but just the thought process is that when I figure out this one thing, I will have clarity to go forth and do the other things.
No.
Yeah. And that is not what it is. It's maybe you get lucky enough to define the one thing that motivates you enough, and then you're lucky enough to understand the actions you need to take to attempt to get that thing.
I think it's also to help simplify the process.
It is,
right?
sure.
Like how many?
Got to sell a book. Man. The title's got to say something.
Right.
There's a focus mechanism around.
I mean, why do you think we titled this the way we did?
The 12-week work year isn't really just work 12 weeks and then stop for 9 months, people.
Right.
Spoiler alert on the book.
Yeah.
The book isn't about working 3 months and then stopping for 9.
It's a great book, by the way.
It's how it is a great book, but it ain't about how to work 3 months and not work 9. Yeah. I can assure you of that.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think my one thing is right now? This is Kristen, by the way.
That White Claw on your lefty.
She's my back. Kristen looks after me. What do you think is my one thing?
I wouldn't say look after. I would more say babysitter.
Yeah,
that'd be more.
I was trying to be nice about it, but
so your one thing right now for this team is definitely something that I have to remind you of every single day, and that would be your recruiting calls. Need to be your one thing.
I don't do enough to help us grow.
No, he doesn't.
It's because I'm very protective of our business.
It's pretty sad.
See, look, even Brian, who sits on the show and tells you about the one thing, has got excuses for why he's ducking his thing.
If you think you're above the excuses, you're not. We're living through the same bullshit everybody at every level is.
I have to text him every day. I'm like, "Did you do your recruiting calls?" He's like, "Nope," and I have no excuse. I'm like, "Okay." What
you should do is put an agent on the line, 3-way it in, and just be like, "Brian, go."
Yeah.
Just be like, "Go."
That's what they're working their way towards.
I'm trying to figure out how to weasel recruiting calls into his day, so we're still working on that. Still work in progress.
Okay, so when you were on the production side of things, what did you feel was your one thing every day?
My one thing was I needed to talk to 14 new people that I haven't talked to in the last 3 months, because that was my specific goal.
That's not controllable, though.
It isn't.
It is not controllable.
I will. Hang on. I'm gonna challenge you on that because Ashley Vega and I did Bold. We did Bold 100. We were making our phone calls and we're like, we're not getting anywhere. What do? We went to the mall and we didn't talk to people. No, we talked to employees because they can't run away from you. So we got our Bold 100 because we went out.
Talk to the people that buckle. They fucking love
like
to talk to you.
We went out and we made it happen. So it is controllable as long as you are using your time and you're doing it in an effective way.
Would you say that is the most efficient way of using your time?
That's the wrong question to ask. Okay,
I understand.
I will let you answer. I'm sorry.
So
misogyny. I'm sorry.
I think it was very worth our time because Ashley was able to actually get a listing off of that. Okay. So yes, I do. And here's the thing: if you're going to ask it that way, then do you really think that calling cold leads from Google Paperclips is going to be worth your time?
Paperclips is a funny word.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I mean?
They're clipped too much.
You know what I mean?
Let me tell you why that's the wrong question, right? Because we're having this conversation around what is the one thing and what is the next thing, right? If you are tracking your business in a way that you understand numbers in, numbers out, you want to boil your business down to inputs and outputs, right? If I talk to this many people or connect with this many people, it should net me this many appointments, fucking whatever, right? The method by which you do that is relatively irrelevant from a numerical standpoint. It's very relevant from a personality standpoint, your strengths, all that type of stuff. What Kristen, I think, is doing a great job of illustrating is you need to boil it down to knowing your business and knowing the numbers. And that's how you can figure out how the next thing becomes the one thing. Because the second that you start to make 14 contacts a day off your YouTube channel, that's now your one thing. But until that, you need to be doing whatever you need to do to hit your contacts every day. And you don't decide what your one thing is. Your one thing presents itself because the numbers are there, and then you figure out how to.
Boring conversation.
It's so fucking true.
Numbers.
That's amazing advice.
That's not what this show's about. This show's not about goddamn tiles.
I'm talking about how you make the next thing your one thing.
Again, I understand what you're saying.
I get it.
Otherwise, what are you doing with YouTube if you don't talk to anybody?
Kristen, what you're saying is truly not 100% controllable, though. So in a pandemic, could you go and talk to 14 people in a mall?
Can you go to a drive-thru?
But you could talk to 14 people on the fucking phone. They're all home.
Exactly.
This is what I'm talking about. Get out of the avenue conversation.
I understand that, but it's a controllable
What
process.
You can control is that through multiple methods, you can talk to 14 people a day.
I understand that, but you truly can't say that you can control the 14 contacts. You truly cannot put that down.
Well,
you can control that it took me 300 400 text messages, calls, whatever that may be.
I agree with you.
Yes.
What I can tell you, though, is that using multiple avenues, I am much more likely to control my outcome being 14 contacts than pigeonholing myself to one avenue, which you're defining as the one thing, and saying, now I got to force my way into 14 contacts with this one avenue, right? Allow the trees to part and the forest to be revealed by having a desired outcome and then figuring it the fuck out along the way, rather than bullying yourself into one avenue and deciding that that's how you're going to hit your numbers.
If the conversation is to stay nimble inside your business and stay on like constant red alert for what you're doing well and where your areas of opportunity are, I agree with that. I also agree that, yes, you can find a way to talk to 14 people. I also don't think going to the mall, that's the bold 100 bit. I'm going to go to the mall and talk to.
That's a litmus test.
Every time somebody stood, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a bold person, you're still been bold, you're bold 100, you went to the mall, I laughed at you internally every time. It's the most horseshit bold 100 anybody's ever done in the history of the planet. If that's the only one you did, I declare it invalid.
It's a litmus test of your will.
It's not a litmus test of going to the food court at Townies Mall in Garland isn't anything. A litmus test of going.
So why is going to somebody's place of work? You know that they're employed. You know that they're employed because they're working.
Who cares? I also know that people who don't pick up at 10 a.m. are employed because they're at fucking work.
Okay, that's fair.
Here's the thing. Like these metrics don't make any sense. It doesn't make. I don't care if you go door knock $1 million houses. This isn't about what's happening. The conversation is about your dedication to a consistent activity that will get you to a desired result. My dedication to my agent referral network over 4 years got me to lunch from noon to 2:30 today, where I could come in here bumping my ass on the ground doing this show, right? The reality is my one thing is my ability to like buy my time back and live my life the way I want it to. Now, I have to backtrack the actions out, and self-admittedly, those actions are not always maxed out. I did 41 deals last year. I should be doing twice that.
I get it.
And I leave work at 3 every day.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree 100. I want you to back that up because first of all, I fucking love this version of Matt on the podcast.
Yeah.
Second of all, I will point out that you did a really loud version of saying, "I've already figured all this out. My ability is to eat." I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is we're trying to
clearly defined it is what I'm saying.
We're trying to reverse engineer the actual mechanics of what goes into that. And I think it's a little bit more analytical, and Nick thinks it's a little bit more passion driven. I think. What's your one thing that you're going to commit to every day?
Because
passion's a big part of it. If you're going to commit to it every day, it will be effective.
Let's say that we're setting a goal. Let's say my one thing today that I can control to move my business and propel my business forward is I'm going to call the expired list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From there, what avenues? Then we can take the avenues and the direction. I'm not saying that it has to be 100 calls or whatever. But here's the problem:
is the expired list getting you to your desired amount of contacts?
Again, the desired amount of contacts is a lagging indicator. You understand that?
No, it's a leading indicator.
No, it is not.
Opposite.
No, you can't control people picking up the phone.
The amount of listings I take is a lagging indicator.
You can control.
You are so confused about leading and lagging indicators.
No,
I look, and I'll tell you, I don't understand leading lagging indicators at all. I understand them from a definition standpoint, but what I'm saying is, what Nick's talking about, if we're talking about your one thing action,
yes,
your one thing action is not picking up the phone on the other end when you make a dial.
I get what
you
you're
don't
saying.
have. Yes, the lagging indicator of the amount of people that pick up is the listings.
What I'm saying is a leading indicator is a projection of future results. Like how many people I've had conversations with should be a projection of my future results. A lagging indicator is an indication of past results that are going to project future implications. So the amount of listings I took in 2020 should be an indication of how many listings I should take in 2021 if I grow or whatever. A leading indicator is I have done X amount of work, and that should lead to X amount of results. It's not happened yet. It's in the future. A lagging indicator is things that have already happened.
When you sit down in the morning to make dials, the amount of people that pick up isn't activity. It's happening in the future.
But the productive action hasn't happened. Me making money off of it. So it's not it's not a lagging indicator because the actual result has not happened yet.
But
we could always say every type of indicator is in the past because it's already happened, but that's not real. Leading indicators are indicators of future results. Lagging indicators are results that have already happened.
When you're talking results-wise, but
I'm not arguing with you. We're clear about the definition of leading and lagging.
But if
indicators.
you're talking about leading indicators from a lead generation perspective,
so what's the one thing? She's listening to us argue. She's like, "Are you sons of bitches ever going to get?"
We're going to figure this out.
No, we're leaving you hanging on. That's how we get you to watch to the end.
That's why. By the way, at the end of this, you're going to leave us 5 stars.
Go watch 3 other idiots do this for now.
I want a new.
Jesse's legitimately putting quotes up.
I want a new camera
which I
filter
love
because I think I'm in the mud camera filter. There's
Well, it's weird we got you on the GoPro today too.
You got the best camera. You got the 9.
Here, you got the newest one.
That's the one we used to put on Brian.
I know.
Yeah.
It looks great.
I mean, it's because the lion's not there.
Everything looks great when it's pointed at me.
That's right. But when in your lead generation method, a leading indicator is still going to be your contacts.
I agree. Okay,
so your calls, not the actual conversations.
Let's take a detour lane around the leading and lagging indicator conversation.
This whole show's been a detour.
What is?
I think first off,
I love it.
Help me. If I am, let's not even talk. We always talk new agents. Let's say I'm a $2.5 million producer.
Mm-hmm.
I think more of our audience falls into that category, right? And I want to do
production down below.
I want to do more. How do I just fucking give me advice? How do I figure out what my one thing is, though? Because I can't make it up. I'm the worst person to decide, I think.
Why?
Because I am probably not. I run a business that does 300 transactions a year. I'm the worst person to decide what I should be doing tomorrow. That's why I have Kristen. We always stand way too close to the mirror We have coaches, we have mentors, we have a network, we have people that are telling us what the next step is. I shouldn't be deciding.
They're not telling you the next
step.
step.
If I want to figure out what my one thing is, somebody who's taken that next step should be helping me figure that out. Whether that's through friendship or fucking whatever.
A coach is guiding you based on where you think the next step will be. They're helping you say, what is the landmine?
Okay, maybe not a coach then, but I have people in my life that should help me say, hey, Brian, get your ass up and do this every day.
Right. So from that, if you're a $2.5 million producer, if you're a $2.5 million producer, what would be your goal? To double your business?
Absolutely.
Let's just say that's what it is. Let's say that's what it is.
So let's take a $2.5.
I want to get to 5.
And let's call that it's from their sphere. Right. So then we're going to analyze what are they doing on their sphere already? Are they milking everything out of their sphere?
Can we be more realistic? Can we just say that they don't know which direction they want? Because let's talk to real agents.
Yeah.
They don't even know they want their sphere. They just say, I want to double production. Yeah. Tell me how.
We got people on this team doing $15 million that don't know where their business is going to come from for the next thing.
So but then you have to ask those questions. This is the
I agree. I'm kind of in your camp.
I understand that. I'm walking you through the steps of this because I want to 10 times my business right now.
Okay.
Sure.
We did 200 units last year. I want to 10 times it.
You can just partner with Grant Code Drone. That's what EXP is doing. Everybody's 10X and they're nuts.
Well, I mean, I have all this coaching, I guess. I have it.
10X nonsense.
10X.
Yeah.
If you just say 10X and you hold up the X,
I'll tell you, the second you tell me you're 10Xing something, I also feel the same thing as when you told me you handed out business cards at the mall for your Bold 100.
Yeah.
It's like, so full of shit. Nobody's 10X'd anything. Yeah. Like I was here yesterday. 10X, bro. Joey Chestnut 10Xing out of hot dogs he shoved in his face.
That might be the one guy who's 10X'd his business.
Who?
Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut.
That dude
He's the hot dog eating guy.
Are you out of your mind? You don't know Joey Chestnut? World record hot dog
it's
either?
Okay, Nick, I'm right there with you.
July 4th.
Breaking his own.
Anyways,
records.
I'm just
no, but from that, so you have to break it down.
Such a random
where you're
reference.
you have to take that step backwards where you say we're our own worst judges or we don't know where our next steps are, because here's the thing. They don't take that step backwards to analyze, all right, where did the business come from first off? You can't just say I want to double my business from 2.5 to 5 and they have no freaking idea.
Well, that's good advice. You should do that.
So because if we say, all right, you should double your business by making expireds calls. Well, I already do that. All right, so let's analyze that. Well, do you really want to do that? Is that something you want to do in the next 3 years?
Yeah.
Well, no, I really actually hate making these calls. Okay.
Right.
Well, eventually you're going to stop. If you hate those calls, like I loved them.
You can stop when you figure out the next thing.
Or with your 2.5 million there, can you replace that 2.5 million by, are you doing a good enough job on the servicing side? Are you doing a good enough job to stay in front of them? Right.
So we all know, and here's the little secret about leveling up that nobody tells you that I've gotten to learn on my own. Is that there's always this. Now, just imagine, we all walk into homes for a living, right? We kind of understand floor plans, but there's always some surprise sometimes when you go to a different room or the second floor, whatever, you can't see it. This is the same thing about leveling up. You kind of know what comes with going to the second story.
Sure.
But then you get up there and you kind of go for your head up and you look around and like, oh, there's fucking rooms up here. I didn't know we're up here. There's a closet.
Y'all got a wet bar.
And here's the thing about it. Why this is really great. And I think it's why you get to constantly keep asking yourself this question and redefining what we're talking about.
By the way, your one thing doesn't stay the same every day.
That's why exactly it does move, because every time you kind of level up, whether it's in a mindset situation, a financial situation, even just you took a client you didn't think you could take, and now you've got all of those things reveal a little dark corner to you, right? If you're actually old enough to remember old school video games where the maps used to be dark and then you walk into a new room and light the room up, it's the same thing. It's like all of a sudden I can see where the exit is, but I didn't really know that before. And it's kind of that same way in leveling up, and just at least entrepreneurship as I understand it, is that you just kind of go to this next level. And to Nick's point, your one thing's going to change because what you were looking at changes, the view changes.
Okay, so that's actually a really good point. Now we're getting somewhere. I don't think I agree. I might be.
This is all scripted, by the way.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before.
Yeah, I wrote all of that down.
Your one thing, that's very good. Yeah. Your one thing is not the same every day. So how do I decide what my one thing needs to be? Because here's the deal. It's just, listen, this is a real question because 87% of people in this business fail in the first year, and it's usually because they're doing the wrong things. How do I responsibly and productively decide this is my one fucking thing that I'm doing every day and do it on a daily basis? How do I decide that?
First off,
What up, D.
Hey,
Kaufman?
Dare. Yeah. We miss you, man.
Miss you, brother. Friend of the show.
Yes. So, I mean, here's the thing. Until you're at this is going to be my definition.
Okay.
Until you're at a point of bringing on, you are at you hit the income levels that you need to hit for bare necessities, right?
That's
that means,
the first goal.
right?
Sure.
Bare necessities and covering marketing.
Get loose of money stress. Get loose of money stress.
Right? Then you're still going to have to, and this is something that I failed at for a long time. As much as I had leverage in my business, I had certain leverage pieces, but not the right leverage pieces to scale.
Sure.
It was leverage for me to be in the business, and it took us to 200 units.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not for 300, 400, 500 units. Right. So what I've quickly learned, and this is where you have to analyze your business. Only you can determine that. I could sit here and say, I only want to do 200 units a year. How many times have you told me? I've said that plenty of times. Right. Then you start looking at it, it's like, all right, you're like, this is not getting me to the next level.
That's
so
the thing. How do I know if it's working?
Well, you'll know by the results.
Not if it's YouTube.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm just giving you an example. Like, you got to stick with shit. It's harder than that.
But again,
it's more
maybe YouTube's not your
nuanced than
thing.
that.
Just like everybody should be expired.
Then what if it is your thing? It's still going to take 90 days to get
First
business.
off, we don't know that because we here have not gone deep enough into YouTube to truly be able to say that it doesn't work on YouTube.
It's just an example.
I understand that,
of
but we
you
can't.
having to build stuff up.
It would be
over
the
time.
same way of saying, all right, I'm going to go on a health kick for 60 days. And at 60 days, you analyze it and you actually gained weight, not muscle weight. And you're like, man, this didn't work. Well, when you go and actually look at it,
Oh, that sucks.
You kept eating McDonald's every day.
you fucking didn't change your diet.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? You still were drinking every night.
Yep.
Oh yeah, look. I mean,
Right?
look.
So let's look at
The
it.
ideology that we say shit and do different shit is not lost.
Yeah,
on
so
me. Yes.
yeah.
absolutely, it's actionable. We could sit here, all three of us could go in and do the videos every single day on YouTube for the next 90 days, and we would have business in 90 days.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
It is actionable, and there is
Okay, yeah, so
results
there's
from
a
it.
Are you
template.
committed to doing a video every day for 90 days?
Exactly.
Because
You think it is.
to take it back to like Nick, what was saying before Brian redefined leading and lagging indicators, it was the
No,
controllable
define them properly.
aspect. He didn't redefine them; he just defined them. That's the controllable thing, though, right? You want business on YouTube? Let's not talk about how much business you give. Do a video every day for 90 days and see what happens, right?
Side note: if I am a dual career agent, I'm going to be doing a video every fucking day.
I would. And
Right? That needs to be your one thing.
Yep.
If we really want us to like just give you a thing that I think is probably the most I don't know, the most profitable from a time standpoint of what we do, it's the video content, right? Like the video, and we all do it differently. Nick does stuff inside his business that's different. What Brian, we do, this is the only thing that we do the same. And even on the
Sure.
show, we're different,
Yeah.
right? If you just want like what's one thing you can do to help your real estate business, get your ass on video. Like I'll just say like that's an actual actionable thing.
Sure.
But whatever you choose to do, be the new person with it. I think we also like struggle with this thing because real estate's entrepreneurial by nature. And so we come into this leaving this old boss or like leaving this old situation. And we think that by default, by getting our real estate license and showing up, we somehow have earned the right not to do certain things. And I would just tell you, that's the exact opposite of how it should be. You're probably going to work way harder doing this than you ever did doing your other thing. It's a reason that your last boss was chilling. He had already built the thing that you're trying to build. He had already built a business where people show up. He had already built the marketing mechanism. He had already built all the managers and all the people who just do the things, right? Like all those things that made you pissed off when you got your check and you're like, fuck the man. Like he built all this stuff,
probably
right?
went
Like
through a lot of
he
that
built
stuff,
all of
yeah.
this crap that you're now trying to build. So understand that you're going to be working super, super hard to build all this crap up for a little bit. And you need to be really clear in the fact that there's certain things that you get to be the boss on and other things you have to be the newbie on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to be the new person in the room for a little while. And if you're not okay with doing that, I would venture to say your business is going to be handcuffed at some point. Yeah. And maybe those handcuffs come in a space where you don't care, but I would just tell you there's going to be a space where your growth stops.
Absolutely.
Shalina, can you post your YouTube channel? Because I'm going to hold you to that. If you're saying you're going to take the challenge of posting a new video every day, I want to see.
Well, and to James's point, it's not even about the medium, right? Like we're taking video as a thing because obviously.
What did James say, by the way?
Well, he was just what he's talking about. Yeah, he said, so many people who online streaming with Twitch, the biggest thing they say is they have to stream daily, almost with no care about low viewers. I will tell you, like, I'll call it out right now. As we sit here live, there are 12 people watching. 4 of them are in this room, most likely, right? So the reality is that it's not about viewership. It's not about engagement. We've got episodes with Tarek that had thousands of views. We've had other episodes where we were spitting hot content that nobody was listening to at all. I legitimately kind of like I look at the phone next to us every once in a while just to kind of like make sure that it's not a total disaster and everybody looks okay and to see the comments and stuff. But I genuinely don't want to say I don't care because I appreciate people watching. But whether or not people tune in is not going to stop whether or not I show up at 3:00 today.
Right.
And it shouldn't change whether or not you do a video, whether people comment on it, whether people pick up the phone. If you do the activities that Nick's talking about, right? Like if you're saying every day you're just committed to an action and you're telling me that in 90 days nothing came from it, I would challenge that you're not doing the work that you said to do, or you're abysmal in your approach and you probably need somebody to give you a little bit of help.
So let me give you an example of mine. My one thing to move the company forward right now is I am actively training our lead manager, Bella, who started last Monday, right? And twice a day, morning and evening, and end of day reports, I'm on calls with her going over what she's learned, what she's implementing.
What is her position specifically? Explain that.
So as a lead manager, first off, I have leads coming in to so many different systems, right? So one, consolidation.
Yeah.
2, in our Boomtown accounts, as we're generating so many leads, what ends up happening is that our agents, no fault of their own, because this is what agents will do.
It's probably their fault.
Yep. No fault of their own, is that they will only focus on the new leads. They forget about the old leads, right? Then on the old leads, they set follow-ups. Those follow-ups never happen. Then you fall behind and you're 7,600 follow-ups behind. Then
7,000. Can you imagine in Boomtown?
That stresses me out just thinking about like.
But you get stressed about it, but then eventually you're just like, I'm never going to look at that. It's kind of like people who
it
don't
just
pay
becomes
their bills.
this background thing. You don't care about anymore.
So what her task role was to clean that up and then start deleting people that we've lost out on opportunities on. Then we put, make sure that everyone's on the right drip campaigns, the right e-alerts, and make sure the responses are coming in. And then from there, in 10 days, by the way, from there, built out a system for accountability for the agents on hitting them from multiple avenues, make sure their follow-ups are done, right? So it's helping take that off of their plate so that they can do what they need to do best, which is new leads. And hey, Kristen needs to be followed up with. David, did you call her today?
Right.
Oh, no? Will you please call her today or tomorrow before we throw it to somebody else?
You like that.
Right?
No, I don't like that.
No, you don't? Why don't I like that?
No, because, so our accountability standards are that if your to-dos get over 100, your new leads get shut off.
50.
Huh? Or 50, whatever. Still, if it gets too high, your new leads get shut off.
Yeah.
So your agents who are so worried about these new leads who are probably just going to become old leads to them.
That's true. You just set that barometer
because now those old leads, they'll just get, if you've got like what we have is our dump account or whatever, they just get moved in there and nobody really messes with them except for when you get a brand new agent that just gets thrown in there. But what you do is that whenever, you do that same accountability, you shut off those new leads. So now your agents who want those new leads, they're going to keep up with those to-dos and they're going to keep up with those old leads that they have.
The thing, if you don't take care of the old leads, you don't get the new ones.
And your old leads are going to get better. So you're more likely to get leads off of those.
What stops that agent from dumping the follow-ups and deleting it altogether and then throwing and dumping it to catch up?
Money.
Into
being broke.
I understand that, but this is
you use Boomtown, right?
Yes.
You're not going to make money if you don't follow up with people.
To do a filter and just go to
look. I understand all of that.
Bulk email them.
I can also tell you how.
That's also not his one thing, right? Like all those things. Those are all system stuff.
Yeah.
And I will also say, what's to keep an agent from doing that? if we're saying that loss of opportunity has ever kept a real estate agent from fucking around,
no,
then
but
we're just not being realistic.
It's a great question.
That's the reason people get out of the
That's
industry.
a great question. That's as a team leader, that's a fantastic question. The answer is I don't give a fuck. And what I mean by that is, look, we provide value in that way. If you don't grasp on that value and make it your own, then you're going to fail. And if you don't, that means you found business a different way. And if you're producing, I don't give a shit regardless. We have some of our highest producers. One of them is sitting to my left right now who has an abundance of overdue tasks in his boomtown.
Who?
But you know what? You know who I'd never have a conversation with that shit about? Him, because he produces, right? So it's twofold.
100%.
If you're new and that's your struggle,
but your leads don't get turned off.
No.
Exactly.
But I also don't take leads. But here's the thing.
They absolutely do. He just doesn't take them.
Yeah, they get turned off.
But if you wanted them back on, could you have them back on?
No, without doing the accountability standards.
No, but if I wanted to be a whiny bitch, yes. Also, there's no reason for me to like
this fucking podcast going on.
I'm so happy today.
I also like, again, the reason I will say there are accountability standards that are specific to me too. That honestly, that I'm not going to share all of them. That have really nothing to do with my production.
Correct.
My accountability standards are personal life accountability standards. Right. So like, there are still accountability standards in place from the standpoint of things I need to do. And when production slips, things step up.
So think of it this way. If you have a lead manager helping to nudge you and say, Kristen, you have these follow-ups and they're falling behind. What is that going to help or hurt your business?
No, I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm sorry. Right. I'm answering.
Yeah. So is that going to help or hurt your business?
Here's the thing. If they're already overdue tasks,
no.
Frankly,
is it going to help or hurt your business?
If you do them,
okay,
it's going to hurt.
So,
but it's going to be
because you take them away and then you monitor those actions. Again, our agents on the results side, that's where it's measured. So it's taken away, and then ultimately what you end up doing is then you find a secondary fail safe. So what is the fail safe in our world? We have a call center fail safe world.
Sure.
Right. So then it goes into that. Our job as a team leader is not to say we're going to shut off your leads. That is not our job as a team leader. Our job as a team leader is to help our agents.
I've been doing that for a while.
Our job as a team leader is to help our agents get into production at a higher level.
Yes.
Right. Our job is to help find a way to hold them accountable at a higher level.
Sure.
Right. And if we can do that by extra nudges, right? If we can do that, by having a fail safe with a backup call center that is calling those past dues and helping them get back in production. Not only does that help the company, that helps the agent. It helps the agent. What does that do? One, it helps continue to push the company's vision forward.
So are you taking these leads when they go to the call center? Do they move out of that agent's account?
They will move out, yes.
Okay, because I was going to say it's kind of like talking to somebody and then somebody else calling and be like, what happened to so-and-so that I was talking to?
You know how many times that's happened and you still get the deal? That you're overanalyzing. You're overanalyzing it, right? You're trying to put restrictions on there and saying, well, that's not going to work because of this.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that at all.
From that, how many times did people call and you're like, man, I've already had a call from your company. I'm like, no, you didn't. Yeah. It wasn't us.
Sure.
Right. And so, I talked to a lady yesterday in training who's like, I never put somehow someone's putting my information down. Someone. And I'm like, well,
you.
First off, by the way, somebody called on the sign, right? With your number. Your number was captured through the sign.
Yeah.
Meaning that someone had to get your phone and call, and then we're walking her through the process, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I did call for the sign.
Yeah.
Right. And so, from that, she's like, she was getting a whole bunch of calls, not from us.
Which is
right, and then
probably looking around.
So it's working through that process. Our job as team leaders is to find the best way for her group. That is the best way for you guys, right? Brian is leading that to make sure, and it's working, right? You guys are crushing it, right? But our job as team leaders is to find the best way to put our agents in the winning position, right? And if we can take off some of those follow-up tasks. I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, Matt doesn't want to do follow-up.
Which agents?
Here's the thing. It's
because every lead that goes to an agent that's not accountable to it is a lead that doesn't go to an agent that would be.
while I agree with you, here's the thing. While I agree with you, if you have fail-safe measures in place,
Okay, yeah, that's right.
right? If you have fail-safe measures in place, are you helping your agents or hurting your agents?
I mean, we're not hurting them because we're not taking leads away. They still have. Here's the thing.
They
Still have Mason Smith.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have the new leads. That's the only thing that's
I
being
understand
taken away.
everything you're saying, but
They just
are
don't
you
get
are you
exclusive
putting your
access.
agents in the best position to win? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
honestly,
And if you feel that that's the way that you're doing it, then absolutely.
We're giving them the opportunity to put themselves in the
Yes.
best situation.
I feel like it does two things. One, if their leads are turned off, number one, it means that they've done something and it's very simple things that we're asking
Yeah, it's
of
not
the
a riddle.
agents. So one, if they don't have any new leads coming in, they go into Mason Smith. Those are now seasoned leads that have been in there. That's going to help them get more leads that have already
Yes.
been nurtured by us.
That's our archive section. Yes.
And number two, it reminds them like you have specifically put these people in your account for a reason. You need to make sure that you're making that personal touch. And even if it's sending them an email of an article about some house that, the owners bought and they can't move into or whatever it is, it's still a touch that they're getting. And it's still the fact that they're following up with that personal touch from them. And frankly, I mean, they get their leads turned back on as soon as their leads or their past to-dos, and it's just the past ones, not the current ones. Once that hits under 50, their leads get turned right back on. All they have to do is just email our
So all I gotta do is just do your
ISA.
shit.
So, but again, I would not to drag this out, I would ask, what's the one thing that you could do to help your agents be in a better position to win, to drive the company forward?
Yeah.
Hold them accountable.
You can't hold people accountable.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. You hold.
Well, that's a whole different.
That's the thing.
conversation then.
So you can put measures in place. You're taking the new leads away, which is a measure.
Sure.
And if that works, great. I'm going to say that for the majority of agents, that doesn't work.
So you just come from a place where you can't hold people accountable.
No, I will have fail-safe measures in place to make sure the company is in the best position to help our agents win.
That's
And
smart.
if the
I get
agents
that.
are winning,
Okay, I get that.
then guess the company wins and the agents win, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, at that, and I'm not attacking you, by the way. This is a challenge to see is that really.
This is the maddest
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, I did not set these accountability up. That is all Brian. I just stand behind them.
Right,
So.
which is great. Which is what
I didn't want to have this
which is what
conversation
you
with you.
need.
That's why I got to
That's fine, which is what you need. So from that, can you put those fail-safe measures in place? Because for Brian as a team leader position, the only way that we can win as team leaders is we have to have our agents sell it at a high
Of
level,
course.
right? And so with that, if we take them away, right, those could be agents that we lose out of the business.
That would be talent. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
So
You also run the risk of losing them if you're not meeting them where they're at either, right? Like this is the whole thing around accountability. Like it's really great to I would just tell you as a 42-year-old grown man, I'm not doing
You are 42 years old?
I am. I'm not doing a single thing. I don't want to say I'm not accountable to other people. I'm accountable to other people because I've chosen to be accountable to other people. There are other people in my life who I respect enough not to let down. There have also been times in my life where you couldn't get Matt to do a single thing he did not want to. So while there are consequences for not doing the actions of accountability, you are not going to convince somebody to do the proper actions.
No.
They get to make their choices.
Respond to that
They don't
lead.
get to choose their consequences, right? I know. I need to. I know. What did I say? We will definitely send. Yeah. I said, now think about our planned event. You can make and over time, I think what you can do is you can get in relationship with people. And this is just as important with our clients as it is from a team leader with the agents. You get in relationship with a person who you understand what they need. Nick experiences this. Brian and I experience this. Kristen experiences this. Jesse experiences this when he's setting up the video stuff for agents. Everybody needs to be met in a different place. And if you have any inkling of joining a team thinking it's just going to be your way or the highway, you're going to catastrophically fail.
Absolutely.
yeah.
And if you don't understand that sometimes some clients who maybe just need a little more help than others are just as worthy of what you're trying to do, those are it's all the same kind of thought process, to me at least, right? And if we can kind of get in alignment with, you can't make anybody do anything, but you can show them the best route and you can show them a path to fulfill their stuff. over time, you will be in business through clients and or agents on your team that you want to do business with, and the other people will weed themselves out. And I think, honestly, that's the best you can hope for. Because like walking in and swinging a stick that you're going to do what I say, that shit just ain't going to work.
Probably the best advice you can give all day.
It's weird because I don't even know what I just said.
I can't believe that Matt was the one who gave that advice too. Like,
well, I've only had one bottle of pink.
That's
champagne.
not even one. That's half.
It is. Like half. It's the fat half on the bottom. I just had the neck.
Y'all want to get drunk or like go to a haunted house or something?
I'm going on a listing appointment. In about
I haven't
30
been to a
minutes.
haunted house in so long. I used to work there.
And here's the thing is, right? Like I'll back up a little bit for the camera, but then you get to a point in your business when you understand your one thing and who you want to be in business with. That you can go on a follow-up. Now I will say this is not my first listing appointment with these people. It's a follow-up appointment. We're going to get everything taken care of. But I'm going like this. And
that is actually something he does very well.
And it's not because I'm amazing. It's not because I'm great. It's I've lost listings to other people. It's just I'm working with people who understand who I am. We've had a great conversation. We all want to work together. What I'm wearing now to our discussion is irrelevant, right?
It's true, man. We say this all the time. Build a business. It's going to be hard to build a business no matter what. But if you're going to do the hard shit, build a business that's fun. Yeah. You get to kind of like work with people you want to work with who get your vibe and do what you want to like if Matt can do it and we can do it, anybody can do it.
Trust me, people.
Matt can do it.
I graduated high school at 2.06 and flunked out of college twice. I'm not knocking you down with knowledge.
At least you graduated. At least you graduated high school.
I did. I made it through high school. I did make it through high school.
Yeah, where are we going after this?
I don't know.
Fogo. It's Wednesday.
Wednesday's a Fogo. Oh, bro! What did I just?
You're the night. You're just better than anybody.
You got the polo on.
Anybody else who's in the DFW?
We made a pact last time we were at Fogo because Matt and I've been doing this for a year now. That y'all were going to tag along to Fogo every Wednesday.
Well, first time last Wednesday, I went to the Herd team event.
I know
it
was
awesome.
It was great. That we decided every Wednesday that we were doing.
Then you better text Heather right now.
So I'll throw the invitation out. If you're in DFW, we're all going to be at Fogo at 6:30.
Actually, speaking of that,
6:45. Oh, what is Nick's
on this?
That was such a loud
camera on Nick. That was a snap, bro.
Yeah.
Why? How do you?
Got some ashy fingers to make a snap like that. I was just too oiled up.
Heather says I got these thumbs that are just.
Well, you do got these just giant hands.
Large hands.
We are going to be throwing a 100th episode networking event for the Only Real Estate Podcast.
It's going to be after the 100th episode.
Yes,
because that's happening now. Yeah, and the event is not now.
It's going to be after the 124th.
So in the next two,
Kristen will put it together.
It's not going to be it's not next week because Brian and I are getting ready to go to Vegas. So in 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. If you're local, if you want to drive in for it, it could be a great networking. It will be the best networking venue in 2021.
There will be alcohol.
Find us
McSwiggins.
Good internet.
Connect with Justin McBroom. He'll hook you up.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I got you guys.
So be on the lookout for that. Sphere Rocket VA for all of your virtual assistance needs. .com. SphereRocketVA.com. Connect with Justin Nelson. Amazing company. You'll see our virtual assistant
at 6:30.
Perfect. So I will be there, and Heather will show up after it. SphereRocketVA.com. We will have our new virtual assistant unveiled here next week.
Probably.
Hopefully.
No reason to dally.
Right. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and go to the Only Real Estate Group worth being a part of a Facebook.
Please
join
give
us
a 5-star review after today.
Yeah,
I thought today's show was great.
If you didn't like this,
it's because I was on.
There you
That's
go.
why.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, Jesse, get us out of here, man. Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the Only Real Estate Group, with being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. Then go to that one. Thanks.